webcasting from Southeast Kansas. I'm Jonathan Switzer, and this is the Roboblog Chronicles, episode number 11. This week's topic, the Art of Robotech, the Shadow Chronicles, written in large part by Tommy Yoon, and published by Stonebridge Press. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, yeah, that's my face right there. And yes, that means that there are words in here that are in fact mine. The book is divvied up into 5 sections covering the worlds of Robotech, places, characters, mecha, vessels, and production. Now, I think the weakest section of the book is the production. This is not a detailed description of the production process like you would find in Robotech Art 3, which to some extent, is a good thing, because Robotech Art 3 is very heavy on the text and light on the art. This, by comparison, is much more jam-packed with art, but well, let me just flip to the production section and give you an idea of this. Here is the section on sound. Oh, look, there's a giant screen grab of Janice and a tiny sidebar actually about the sound, and Scott Glasgow's down there at the bottom somewhere. So yeah, that's the way a lot of the book looks. Lots of screen grabs. And I would argue that somebody who is interested in a book called The Art of the Shadow Chronicles probably wants more than just giant screen grabs. They would want, I don't know, character sketches, different iterations of the character throughout the production process, mecha line art, location stuff, all that, and nice, clean versions of the backgrounds, maybe, I don't know. And you do get a lot of that stuff, but not quite as much as you would expect in a book with this name. Let's see here. It includes a recap of the original TV series, which has a couple of interesting points for more seasoned Robotech fans, and it's a nice sidebar on Tyrol featuring some artwork from the Sentinels animation, sidebar on Optera with artwork from the New Generation episodes, and then you get to a recap of the production of the Sentinels with a bunch of cell art and background images from that, and then what most you'll be a little more interested in, a nice 2-page spread of CG art with one piece from Tatsunoko's attempted anime version of Robotech 3000. A little bit on the fiasco that was that production at the bottom. Alright, moving into the meat of the book, here's an interesting bit. This is the section on reflex point. Now what you'll notice is that retcon from Love and War, where they decided reflex point was actually the site of the Macross mounds, that is definitely in effect and is visually indicated in the Shadow Chronicles. You can't see that very well at all down there, but there's this nice long pan shot in the movie when Scott Bernard is looking sort of wistfully out across the terrain at night, and then Ariel comes by after, very shortly after, and he's looking out at what appear to be mountains. No, those are the remains of the 3 mounds, and they've even got a map showing exactly where the main hive is. It's the northernmost section of reflex point. And that sort of reconciles the problem I've long had with this notion that reflex point is largely in the Midwest, but the remains of the SDF-1 have to be near Alaska so that Rick and Lisa can get there from the remains of Alaska base in a speedy manner. Sort of reconciles that. Sort of, kind of. It still takes some fudging, but, you know, it sort of works. Okay, here is a character lineup that should probably be bigger. And what's interesting is I have a copy of that around here somewhere. Oh, there we go. Only mine doesn't have Gene Grant's disembodied floating head. And the reason I have this is so that I could try and calculate the heights of the different characters. And I think at least one of my actual calculations is in here, but I think they rejiggered some of those. Okay, here's an example of the way the character section is set up. Well, there's the big screen grab again, but there's also Tommy Yoon's initial character design, and then there's Longvo's interpretation. Longvo is the artist on the first Wildstorm miniseries and the second Wildstorm comic book miniseries, Love and War, and his version is the one that I believe was passed on to the Korean animators to give us the final version. Marcus Rush, take a look at this. Take a look at this. You might not be able to see it very well, but you'll notice he's kind of feminine in this initial pencil sketch here. So feminine, in fact, he's wearing earrings, for crying out loud. I guess they wanted to make him a pretty boy originally, which is better for him than, say, Alex Romero, who was originally going to be Ben Dixon. Not actually, but you know, he was supposed to be a heavy-set dude like old Ben. Lisa. Oh, look, there's animation designed for Lisa. And once you get your copy of the book, you can look at her shoulders and see that she's like the highest ranking person in the Expeditionary Force, higher ranking than Reinhardt or Rick. Alright, let's see here. The Sentinels. There's a nice color sketch of Laron. I believe that's another Tommy Yoon piece. And this section right here, this little block of text, that is mostly my writing. It's like the only section of the book here that I can point to and say, yep, that's pretty much all mine. The Shadow Fighter. The best art of the Shadow Fighter in the book does not match the animation. It's still got the sort of squared off shoulders and no sensor pod and no fine detail. That's what you get when you're using Mosbia line art instead of your own art. And let's see, Invid Overlord, not in the Shadow Chronicles, but in the book. The Super Shadow Fighter, you can barely make out the details on the Super Shadow Fighter. They really need to up the contrast in some of this art. Let's see, they got 3D models for like the Invid Shock Trooper that they didn't use in the movie. And, okay, the Super Cyclone. Look at the Super Cyclone. Giant screen grab of Vince Grant. Tiny, tiny line art. And then the Bioroid Interceptor over here. Line art's tiny again. And they use some comic book art that you can't really see it very well in. They probably should have taken that and blown that up. Blown up one of those and blown up one of those and just stacked them, but no. Alright, I think that's all the time I've got. If you have any other questions about the book, feel free to ask in the comments thread. And on that note, this is Captain JLS, signing off.